Hello, everybody, and welcome to the New Flame Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Andrew, along with Kareem and Dean. And sorry for the later upload. Just neither of the days over the weekend, really worked out. And then we had Monday and Tuesday off from school, so we're just recording this on Tuesday. Get it so it can be all three of us. Sorry for the inconvenience. Probably won't happen again. Hopefully, but first of all, I just want to, just say, rest in peace, Vincent Jackson, who was found, dead last night in his hotel room. He played with the Chargers and the Buccaneers, I believe. Had a good little career there. 540 yards, 9,080, 540 receptions, 9,080 yards, 57 touchdowns. Very solid career, three-time Pro Bowl. Just prayers out to his family. It just really stings. 2021 has not been a good year so far, and it's only February 16th. Yeah, only February 16th now. So just hope that after this, just nothing else happens, because that would be huge stinker of a year if anything worse happened. Or if it just keeps continuing. So yeah, that's I'm just gonna say about that. Rest in peace, Vincent Jackson, V-Jax, as many called him. Yeah. Alright, now that is out, the sad notes are out of the way, on to the recap of the Super Bowl. I'm not even, I said this all last week, it was not even taking into consideration that the Buccaneers won. It was just an overall bad game. Just overall bad. It was a blowout. Nothing really. It was a blowout. There were no cool, insane plays or anything like that. Which it's not they were a blowout, but teams are there was this insane one-handed catch or anything like that. No. It was just an overall bad game. No attempt of a comeback from the Chiefs, as the Buccaneers won it 31-9. Tom Brady gets a seventh ring, and I guess he's no longer a system quarterback, even though the defense carried them that game. So, I mean, the Buccaneers had a simple plan. It was to attack the Chiefs' weak defense. We saw it all game. Tight end screens. The first touchdown of the game to Rob Gronkowski, scored 2 touchdowns. We just saw it all game, whether it was to Gronk, to Cameron Brate, who's had a nice postseason, a nice overall season. So it's just the Chiefs just didn't know what to do, and then I thought that goal line stop, in the first or second quarter, late first, early second quarter, was gonna give them momentum. It just didn't. You got that it was yeah, let's go, and all that, and then just. And I'm not gonna say that it's the ref's fault or anything like that, because we'll talk about that later. But I think those bad calls, late in the second quarter, really just messed with the Chiefs' heads, because they weren't able to get if they were to even slightly bump a Bucs receiver, they would call a penalty. So I think that messed with them. I think that the whole we can the whole offensive line was a problem all game. Obviously, Eric Fisher tore his Achilles in the AFC Championship game. They didn't have Mitchell Schwartz, one of the best tackles in the league, I believe, had a season-ending injury week 1. So it's they've played with it all year, but now in the biggest game, it matters the most when you're going up against an elite defense. So I think that obviously was a factor. We saw Patrick Mahomes look like Josh Allen in the AFC Championship game, just running for his life every single play. It's just, and you gotta think, is it a problem with the offensive line and them not being healthy, or is it just the Bucs defense is that good, because we all know that Patrick Mahomes is not doing that during the regular season. But at the same time, they weren't going up against great defenses. Like especially within their division. Raiders defense not good. Uh, Chargers, yeah, they have Joey Bosa, but he didn't have one of his better seasons. Broncos, they were hurt out of their minds this year, especially on defense, losing Von Miller. Chargers, I already talked about them, but but they didn't have Derwin James all year, who can blitz every once and again. But and then we saw it in the Dolphins game too. They just exposed that offensive line with that 30-yard sack, and I think that game, the game plan was very similar for the Bucs. Was very similar to that Chiefs Dolphins game in the fact, especially on defense, because Dolphins and Bucs defense, in my opinion, are pretty similar. Great, like linemen and linebackers core that can get to the quarterback pretty fast. Pretty athletic and all that. And then the secondary is a bunch of just elite guys back there. So it was just very similar. It was like just limit the big plays, because as soon as the Dolphins let up that touchdown to Tyreek Hill and he slipped in the back of the end zone, as soon as that play happened, we were already down 14-10 due to another Tyreek Hill touchdown on the run play. I think that was another turning factor of the game. But anyway, we saw in that game the two big plays from Tyreek Hill really just unraveled the Dolphins' defense, and so the Buccaneers in the Super Bowl just didn't even allow that one big play for the Chiefs' offense to light that fire to happen. They just didn't let it happen. They just really limited. They just did. Yeah, I hate to sound repetitive here, but like they would put two guys on Tyreek Hill, two guys on Travis Kelce, and then the rest of the guys just, you don't have to worry about them, other than I guess you have to worry about Clyde Edwards-Helaire coming out of the backfield, but like even then, that's why you have Devin White. Devin White is very, very athletic at the linebacker position. So it's like even if they were to do that, you just Devin White just come over and wrap him up. And speaking of Clyde Edwards-Helaire, I just really think that the run game, whenever I was like looking up and like actually paying attention, because after some point it was just getting out of hand. I'm like, it's a blowout. They were running the ball well with Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Like every run that I saw, he was getting like 7 yards, and it shows in his yards per carry. He, I believe he averaged like 5 or 6-ish yards per carry, and yes, that's because he like didn't have a lot of carries. He averaged 7.1. So like, the run game was clearly working for them, but they didn't find that out until like third quarter, when they were already down 28-6. So it's like, well, yeah, you found something that worked, but just too late. Patrick Mahomes, an ugly game. Threw the ball almost 50 times, 2 interceptions, no touchdowns. Obviously, that was the big key. They didn't allow any the Buccaneers didn't allow any touchdowns. Travis Kelce somehow got over 100 yards. Tyreek Hill, 7 for 73. But, and also another thing, due to the lack of offensive line, Patrick Mahomes was looking like a magician back there. And he was not getting any help from his wide receivers and tight end. They were dropping so many balls. And there was one, it was like 3rd and 3. Patrick Mahomes just threw it to Travis Kelce. He should have caught it, and he just dropped it. So, it was not getting any help from them. But like the run game was like really working. 107 yards, average 6.3 yards per carry. But they just didn't run the ball enough until the third quarter, when they were already down. So I think that was another big issue of it. So anything that you guys want to like expand on, like any other points that you want to talk about, maybe the refs or something like that, because I feel like I'm hogging up this right now, so I will give the floor over to you.
Yeah, so obviously Brady got 7. I'm not going to blame it on the refs, but there were many, many questionable calls. Of course, Mike Evans and Jerry Sneed and stuff like that at the end of the first half that ultimately gave the Buccaneers a touchdown. and there's so many more. But regardless, I mean, you have to give it to the Bucks defense. It made Patrick Mahomes look like a Patrick Mahomes we haven't seen all season, even though they've had that depleted offensive line for most of the season. So I mean, Brady got 7. He has um, he's got a lot of rings. I mean, you gotta give him some props. He's always had a good team around him. He's always had an incredible defense, and the Bucks played incredible in the Super Bowl. Obviously, they got a lot of big names. Jason Pierre-Paul, a lot of younger guys, Antoine Winfield, Jamal Dean, some other guys like that. So I mean, the Bucks defense played great. Chiefs offense really couldn't do anything. Obviously, no touchdowns, but 3 field goals. So yeah, I mean, Brady got 7. Bucks defense played great. Andy Reid did not game plan well enough for this game, and ultimately it didn't work. So I'm gonna give it a sub to Dean to see what he thinks. Honestly, I feel that if the Chiefs' offensive line held up and some of those calls weren't called, I feel like the game still would have went to Tampa Bay just because how well they played. You have to give it to them at the end of the day. They did play in an amazing game, and that's really all I have to say. It was just an embarrassing blowout. And yeah, there's nothing else I can much. There's nothing else I can really say.
Yeah, and Kareem, you brought up a good point. With the bad calls. There were 3 that I can remember that I watched because I went to bed after the third, like halfway through the third quarter. It was over. Leonard Fournette just got a touchdown. I'm like, it's 21-6. It's over at this point. So you brought up a good point with the bad calls. The 3 that I can remember: L'Jarius Sneed holding on the Tyrann Mathieu should be interception. Like you telling me that Mike Evans wasn't also holding Sneed? And in my belief, if they were both like just pushing and shoving a little bit here and there, don't call it. It's nothing. Don't call it at all. Never, unless some guy just pushes a guy to the ground, like pushes him out of the way. Don't call it if they were both doing it. Now, if only one guy is doing it, then yeah, you call it. But since they were both, nah, you don't call that. It should have been a Tyrann Mathieu interception. That kind of set up the beef between Tyrann Mathieu and Tom Brady that we saw all game. Um, you know, that one was a bad call. Should have been to the Chiefs. Could have given them momentum, but yet again, like we saw on that 4th down stop, did not. Couple drives later, right before halftime, big play to Mike Evans. And Mike Evans obviously is very tall, very long stride, so he's running. Bashad Breeland was a couple steps behind him, so he's running. Evans, their feet get tangled, and yet they call pass interference on Breeland. How? Literally how? Like, yes, I understand that Breeland tripped first and thus made Evans fall by, like, reaching out and all that. Yeah, and, like, hitting his feet or whatever. But, like, come on now. And then also, I don't even think that pass was catchable. It was a good 5-ish yards ahead of Evans. Yes, you could make the point, well, if he didn't trip, he would have caught it and scored. Well, I counter that with, shoot, I forgot what I was gonna say. Heck, I had a really good point. That's upsetting. I cannot remember. I had a good point. Believe me, please, and I just forgot it. So yeah, that one was pretty bad. And then the one in the back of the end zone, I believe this one was also on Tyrann Mathieu. I guess it weren't. I guess it had. Okay, I don't forget that. But yeah, he bumped Evans. He was just sitting in his zone, and Evans had like a crossing route of some sort. He bumped him, and it's like slowed down Evans. Evans sold that so much. So and yet again, the pass was 7 yards ahead of him. There was no way Evans would have gotten that. So like. And so yeah, those were the bad calls. Agree with me if you want to. Disagree, make all your arguments. It's just as much as I don't want to say, I just don't even think the Chiefs would have won, even if those calls were made. So yeah, and then not really about the game itself, but halftime and the ads were pretty disappointing. Other than getting introduced to the new member of Team State Farm being Drake the rapper, they were meh. The Doritos ad was good. They obviously always make good ads for the Super Bowl with Matthew McConaughey this year. But yeah, halftime show was meh in my opinion. Couldn't hear him half the time, and he started vlogging in the middle of it. Like, what a weirdo. So anyway, if I just don't think I think this game was just a general disappointment, in my opinion. So yeah. Now into the future, this kind of goes into our next topic, but the future, like looking ahead to next year for these teams, starting with the champs, the Buccaneers. Obviously, Tom Brady's going to be 44 years old when this next season starts. My bad. You know they have a bunch of key free agents that they need to sign back, including guys like Levante David, Chris Godwin, not Demarcus Sue could be re-signed, but I don't think he will. He wasn't much of a factor this year, and he's just getting old. And takes way too many unnecessary penalties. So yeah, those three guys. I think they definitely do need to assign Godwin and David. To be a contender again next year. They'll still be a contender even without him. So I think those need to be signed. But obviously the big thing here is Tom Brady will be 44 years old. Yes, heading into this next season. Gronk will be 32. You just pretty young team outside of those two. With Mike Evans, good offensive line still. Leonard Fournette is gonna be good. Ronald Jones is gonna be good again. He's gonna come back. Um, and speaking of Leonard Fournette, I just saw something. Like while I was waiting, the Buccaneers were actually planning on cutting Leonard Fournette before the playoffs, and I don't blame him. He did nothing in the regular season, but he turned into playoff Leonard Fournette. Maybe this becomes a thing. Maybe. So yeah. Looking forward for the future of the Buccaneers. They're gonna be good again next year. They're easily gonna win that division. With Drew Brees exiting, I don't think the Saints are gonna be the same. Panthers, obviously, still a young team, could get Deshaun Watson. I think they have a promising future. And the Falcons, I don't know about them, but they should easily win that division next year, in my opinion, unless Tom Brady just falls off a cliff. Quote Max Kellerman there. So yeah. Now, for the losing side of this game, the Chiefs, they have some important pieces on defense, which I think is going to be the key in this offseason for them. They got Tyrann Mathieu, Chris Jones, Rashad Breeland, Frank Clark. I definitely do think that linebacker core could use an upgrade. So I believe there are a few good linebackers out there. I believe Matt Milano could be an upgrade. Obviously, Levante David, like we said, for the Buccaneers. I believe Roquan Smith might be a free agent. Don't quote me on that. So I just think upgrading that linebacking core, whether it's in the draft and free agency, somehow, some way they needed to get a few better linebackers and then another secondary piece, and then they'll be right back there. Obviously, they're gonna compete next year. That offense can score with anyone. So yeah. And now onto the offseason. Obviously, some big news out of Houston this past week. And I will refrain myself from saying Houston, we have a problem. J.J. Watt has been released. Obviously, this was a long time coming. He's been wanting, even though he hasn't said it, he's won out of Houston for a while now, probably this entire season. They were just like, you know what? You deserve so much better than this city. Get out of here. We want you, but it's not good. So you've been released. And now all the speculation has come in. Oh, is he gonna sign with the Bucks, the Chiefs, the Browns, the Steelers? I personally think he's going to go to the Browns. I think they need that kind of defensive player. Because other than Myles Garrett, their D line is just average in my opinion. So you can just double team Myles Garrett and boom, you're done. Maybe you get the occasional sack here and there from Olivier Vernon. Or I believe Sheldon Richardson was on that team this year. And even though you look at J.J. Watt's stats, he's like, oh, he's not getting as many sacks. But I just don't think you can measure a defensive lineman by sacks. I think you have to look at double teams and all these other minor stats because he doesn't get a lot of sacks anymore, but he's just such a presence on the field. Now you double team Watt and Garrett and boom, now it's five. Say you're blitzing 5 guys. It is now a 1v3. that is unfortunate if you're offensive lineman. And maybe you have the running back, so a one, or so like a 2v3, even then mismatch here and there. I just think that that would make the most logical sense for the Browns. It would be to go after a um a pass rusher, just much like J.J. Watt. So I definitely think he should go there. Now, what are you guys' opinions on like the J.J. Watt release? Where you think he's gonna go? How much you think he's gonna get? Some anything that you want to say about J.J. Watt? Go ahead.
Well, as you guys may know, I'm a Cleveland Browns fan, and I'd love J.J. Watt to come to Cleveland because, one, it takes our focus on defensive ends off in the draft. I don't think you sign him to like a 3 year, maybe a 1 year because he's getting older and you're not sure how much he has left. Maybe he's come to the end of the road, or maybe he, got that firepower left. Maybe he's signed for 2 years, but I'd say 2 years max. Don't go three. 1 or 2 is probably your best bet. But I think J.J. Watt fills a big hole because Olivier Vernon obviously tore his Achilles, and plus he's a free agent this year, unrestricted. So pretty much he's got rights to any team or any team can sign him. So I don't think that there's a big chance the Browns get Vernon back just because of his value, especially after how he played after Week 8. With Myles Garrett obviously getting hurt and Myles Garrett having COVID, how he really stepped up and was able to tear apart offensive linemen, especially in that Eagles game with a couple sacks and a safety tacked on. So I'd love J.J. Watt to come to Cleveland just because it fills a big hole because we've been talking about defensive ends all season after that Vernon injury. So I'm going to pass this on to Dean to see what he thinks. Okay, so obviously we've been talking about the whole J.J. Watt thing, and Kareem bring up a really good point with Olivier Vernon and how he gets hurt and all stuff like that. So yeah, J.J. Watt would be an amazing addition to play alongside Myles Garrett, and if the Browns do end up taking J.J. Watt, we're talking about one of the best defensive lines in the league with arguably one of the best defensive linemen ever in J.J. Watt. So I really don't know what's gonna happen. I feel like he will choose where he wants to go. In either way, I think he'll be happy with it. I think I'll be happy with it because if he doesn't come to the Browns, then at least he will, play not in Houston. We all know how corrupt it is over there in Houston. So obviously, I hope he goes to the Browns, to join that defensive line. And that's all I have to say for this.
So some other teams that have been thrown out, are the Buccaneers. Obviously, going to be losing Dominican Sue. I just don't. Even if they don't get J.J. Watt, just don't resign him. He's washed. He's old. He's past his prime and all that. He's probably going to retire, to be honest. So I think he'd be a good fit there. Obviously, now the cap room comes into the situation. All that, but another team, the Steelers, get all 3 Watts on the same team. It just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Yes, Bud Dupree is a free agent. I think they should re-sign him. He's much younger. He's a linebacker. He's decent coverage. I think he's younger, faster, and all that. So I think they should re-sign Bud Dupree. So I think the most logical location for J.J. Watt is these 2 teams, the Browns or the Packers. You saw them struggle so much with the run this year. The Packers did, so I think that's another logical landing spot for him. I think he goes to one of those 2 teams. And Dean, you brought up a point about J.J. Watt, possibly one of the best D linemen ever. He's not the best. Definitely not the best in my opinion. I do think he's top 10 at least, possibly top 5, maybe around that 6 or 7 range. You still got to compete with guys like Ed Jones, guys, just other absolute legends, Julius Peppers, just other guys like that. Mean Joe Green, yeah. So definitely not the best, but easily top 10 in my opinion. So some more off-season news, just some more general, information. The date for for like when free agents can officially sign and when trades officially like process or go through or anything like that is March 17th, so that is in 1 month and 1 day from now. So that's exciting. Some big free agents include Dak Prescott, obviously J.J. Watt, like we just said, Juju Smith-Schuster, who's gonna take that Corvette, you just never know. Allen Robinson, Kenny Galladay, Chris Carson, Aaron Jones. Not a whole lot of defensive free agents, but a loaded wide receiver class. Like I said, with Galladay, Allen Robinson, Juju Smith-Schuster, Chris Godwin, two great running backs in Aaron Jones and Chris Carson. We'll give a deep dive into free agency next week. Like some logical spots. All I'm gonna say is like teams that were like right there that just need one or two pieces. Packers obviously they need like run support, just any defensive players. I think that the Ravens obviously they were close this year. They made it to the divisional round. I think they need a wide receiver. I think, and I don't think they need a fast guy. I don't think they need a guy like Marquise Brown. I think they need a big physical guy. Someone. I think Kenny Galladay would be an amazing fit there. Just a big body for Lamar to throw to. I cannot talk today. I think that would be like I was saying, that would be very beneficial for the Ravens. They could sign either Allen Robinson or Kenny Galladay. I just think that would be the most ideal spot for either of them. I think a lot of teams need a wide receiver. A lot of teams need a running back. Like I said, the Ravens, the Dolphins need another star receiver. Bills need a running back. Chiefs need more defense. Like I said earlier. You just look at every team and they have their weaknesses and they could easily be filled with someone here in the free agency class. I just one thing that I'm gonna say now. I think Dak Prescott actually gets a deal done with the Cowboys. That is my one lock for free agency. That Dak Prescott returns to Dallas on a deal 5 or more years. That is my lock for free agency. Dak Prescott returns to Dallas on a 5+ year contract. So, let me know what you think of free agency down in the comments below. Some underrated, slept on free agents that could possibly make a big impact for their teams in 2021. Some predictions where you think guys are gonna go. And one last off-season note is that Russell Wilson, this quarterback for the Seahawks, now I think this was blown way out of proportion. He said that he was unhappy with the beating that he's taken in Seattle. Now, it's nothing like Houston, nothing like Deshaun Watson or anything like that, but he said that he's unhappy. He said that basically, you've done nothing to improve this offensive line in the 7 years I've been here, and that he would like a voice in the management decisions. I definitely do think that Russell Wilson will stay in Seattle. I just know it's not going to happen. Like I said, it was blown way out of proportion. Maybe they take an offensive lineman in the draft. Maybe they get Trent Williams in free agency. I think that's a big pickup for any team that will get him. You just think about it. Yeah, you think like, oh, Russell Wilson's offensive line hasn't been great. Also not horrible, like trash or anything like that. I just don't see Russell Wilson going anywhere. I could see if they don't build that offensive line, I could see him being moved maybe next offseason, maybe the one after that. But just no way he's getting traded this offseason unless just something absolutely major happens, like they trade DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, they let Chris Carson walk in free agency. They trade Bobby White. Unless they go into complete rebuild mode, they are not trading Russell Wilson, and I don't see them going into complete rebuild mode for any time soon. Just no way Russell Wilson gets traded. That's just my opinions on that. And so yeah, that's gonna do it for the NFL. Now we do have more football news. There was a fan-controlled football league that has been started. How many are there only like 4 teams? I don't know how it's worked. I just know that it's a thing, and that I believe, and I know that Johnny Manziel is playing in it. I believe his team is the Zappers. I believe that's what it's called. So if you didn't see all the memes, past couple of days, they were hilarious. All about Johnny Manziel and all that. So he's playing there. I just don't know nothing about it. I think there's only like 4 teams, something like that. I don't know. I just wanted to say that Johnny Manziel is back playing football. Johnny Football is back officially. So yeah, that's all I wanted to say about that. It's just a fun thing. So yeah. I completely forgot. Who do you guys? What is one lock for free agency that you guys have? I completely forgot to ask you guys. Just one signing that you think will for sure happen.
I'm gonna say J.J. Watt to Cleveland.
Oh, that was fast. That was simple. Dean, what do you think?
I don't know. I was thinking either Levante David and Shaq Barrett are on free agency, right? Or just Shaq Barrett.
No, I know Levante David is a free agent.
I'm pretty sure Shaq Barrett.
I believe Shaq Barrett's a free agent as well. So yeah.
So I'm just gonna say both of them are definitely gonna get signed back by the Buccaneers.
Interesting. Yeah, definitely the Levante David. But if they get, if they sign J.J. Watt, then I think they could let Shaq Barrett go. So yeah, that Levante David would be my second lock as of now. So yeah, so that's gonna do it for the overall football portion of the show. On to the MLB news. We just had a much of like mid-tier signings. We had some guys who like a little bit older now get signed to teams. Starting with the big one, Justin Turner back with the Dodgers. I think this was just a lock to happen. It was either the Dodgers or the Mets, and he obviously chose the Dodgers. He wants to win. I think the Mets are gonna be good. I don't think they're gonna be on the Dodgers level or anything like that, but he wanted to win, so he signs back with the Dodgers. 2 years, $34 million, and at his age, I think 2 years makes sense. I believe he's like 31, 32, 33, somewhere in that range, so that would put him at max 35, I believe. So this signing just makes a lot of sense. You get him for $17 million, and the Dodgers this year are just going all out. They don't care about the luxury tax. They'll pay it because they're in LA. They have the money to. So yeah, luxury tax is much like the salary cap in other sports. Just you have to pay an additional like fine or something if you go over. With the Dodgers, I believe they were around $50 million over. So yeah, Justin Turner, he's not gonna be like a top hitter or anything like that, but he could definitely hit 20 to 25 home runs, hit around 270, drive in 80 plus RBIs in that Dodgers lineup now. Two Padres signings now. Two relievers for two former closers, Mark Melancon and Keoni Keller. Mark Melancon was absolutely fantastic for the Braves this past year. Very surprised they didn't re-sign him. I was just very surprised that the Braves did not re-sign Mr. Melancon. So he signs with the Padres. The contract details, as of my knowledge, have not been released yet. If I had to guess, probably around 2 or 3 year deal. Definitely on the other side of his career now. Probably around a 2 or 3 year deal. Probably getting around around $10 to $13 million a year for him. Definitely a good signing. Now the other guy, Keoni Keller, formerly of the Pirates. So I think Keoni Keller is good. I think he's good. I don't think he's horrible. I don't think he's amazing. Definitely don't think he will be the closer for this team. I think this is just another bullpen piece. Pirates, they didn't want him. They don't want anyone anymore. So they were like, you know what? You can have him. Yet again, contract details for this have not been released. So yeah, I think that both good signings. I don't think I think the Padres are going to be contenders, and after I wrap up the free agency portion, I will go into a deep dive of who I think will win this division next year. Um, Next one, uh, Justin Wilson is going to the Yankees. Left-handed reliever. Thank thank anyone you want to here. Um, we actually signed a lefty. He had a mid 3 ERA, and if we can just get that again, I'd be very happy. I think I think he'll slide in very nicely. For a guy, he can go 2 innings. He did that a lot for the Mets last year. If a starter doesn't have a good day, can only go like 4 innings or something like that, or they were pitching on short rest, anything like that, he can come in, give you 2 innings, give it over to the big guys, like Chapman, Green. Almost said Canely, but he's on the Dodgers. I had no clue he was on the Dodgers till I watched a video the other day. Speaking of that, but like guys in the Yankees bullpen, like um Chapman, Green, guys like that who can lights out, get the job done. So could be a good little signing for us if it pans out. If it doesn't, just send him to the minors. Not a whole big deal there. Kevin Pillow to the Mets, just a depth signing. I'm not gonna say much about this. 230, 240 average, 10 to 5 to 10 home runs, somewhere in that range. I don't expect him to get a whole lot of playing time. For the Mets this upcoming season, with their outfield being like they got like Nimmo, they got Conforto, they got trying to think who else. They got so many guys that can go out there, play. Like guy out there. Oh, they also got Jake Muznik, he's a good defender, same with Polo. So I think this is just a depth signing for them, obviously, and just an outfield guy. Like Conforto's not the best out there in right. You're winning by 2 runs. You need the save. I'm going to stick Kevin Pillow out there in right. We'll play good defense for them. The Athletics signed two relievers. Two relievers easily past their prime, one being Sergio Romo, the other being Yasmiro Petit. Petit was pretty good for the A's last year. We signed him. I think he's gonna be good. Another good move. I'm expecting around a three-ish ERA, for him. Go in there, give you a solid inning of work, and just be an overall good signing for them. And Sergio Romo, he was so dominant back in like 2012, 2013, back when the Giants were winning all those World Series. So, two guys past their prime. I think Sergio Romo won't be amazing. Probably around a 4 ERA if I had to guess. Just some signings, just to bolster up that roster and for just depth here. And now probably one of the bigger ones. James Paxton is back to the Mariners, and 1 year, $8.5 million, and this makes me pretty upset because we traded, a pretty highly rated prospect in our farm system, Justice Sheffield, for him just 2 years ago, and boom, he's just back with them. So obviously James Paxton is past his prime, just like so many of the guys we've talked about. Ironically, so I think that this is just another guy's like he's a little bit older, was willing to take a hometown discount if you want to call it that. Back with Seattle, probably gonna slide right into that number 2 start behind Justin Dunn. I do believe he could be very, very good for the Mariners this next season. 1 year, $8.5 million. Low risk, medium reward for the Mariners here. They weren't going to spend a whole lot of money this year, but, and if he plays good, you can just trade him, get some solid prospects back. If he has like a mid 2 ERA, like even around a 3, you trade him. You get some decent little prospects back for him, and boom, it's a good signing for you. So yeah, James Paxton back to the Mariners. Good signing by them. So yeah, and now, like I said, a deep dive into who I believe will be better in 2021, the Dodgers or the Padres. Now, these are both teams that have been spending money like crazy. Just going out, you see the Dodgers, oh, they signed a guy. Ooh, the Padres signed another guy. Ooh, the Dodgers, ooh, the Padres. It's been the only thing people are talking about this offseason. And as of right now, I'm gonna go, basic by position by basic position, starting with the rotation. This one is very close. On the Dodgers' hand, you got Walker Buehler, Trevor Bauer, now Clayton Kershaw, David Price, and Dustin May. I forgot about him last week when I said Julio Urias would be the number 5 starter, but no, I believe that would be Dustin May. And then you have Julio Urias as a number 6 reliever if you wanted to. So, even David Price is playing decently. You trade him away, get Julio Urias into the rotation. Or maybe you trade Urias. Just so many different ways you can configure that rotation for the Dodgers. Now onto the Padres pitching rotation. You got Yu Darvish, Blake Snell, Dinelson Lamet, Joe Musgrove, Chris Paddock. So I definitely do think that is a solid rotation for them. Obviously, now if Mike Clevenger was in this rotation, I would easily give this to the Padres. But since he is not, I'm gonna have to give this to the Dodgers. I do believe that they're just a little bit better. I'd take Trevor Bauer over Yu Darvish. I'd take Walker Buehler over Blake Snell just a little bit. I would take Dinelson Lamet over Clayton Kershaw, if I'm being honest. Joe Musgrove I'd take over David Price, and then Chris Paddock, and then I'd probably take Chris Paddock over Julio Urias. Just has not shown a whole lot, and Chris Paddock was amazing a couple of seasons ago, and Dustin May Julio Urias have not just shown that consistency yet. But I'm going to give this to the Dodgers as a whole. I believe they have a top 5, easily top 3 even, pitcher in the MLB on their side. So, definitely going to have to give it to the Dodgers here. Dodgers have the rotation. Now onto the bullpen. Padres bullpen is nasty. You got Drew Pomeranz, Emilio Pagan, Craig Stammen, who I think who's been very solid the past couple of years. Obviously, they just added Malcolm Lansing and Keoni Keller. Now over for the Dodgers, you got Tommy Kahnle, who I had no idea was on the Dodgers. Got Kenley Jansen past his prime. You got another couple of solid guys. You got Blake Trinan in there, but I am going to give this to the Padres, especially if they can re-sign Trevor Rosenthal. That bullpen will be the best in the league. I think it's already the best easily top 3, maybe even the best in the league, in my opinion. So, I'm only going to give this to the Padres on this one. Catcher, Austin Nola versus Will Smith. This is very close. One hand, you got the better overall player in, he's better at, Austin Nola, he's better at fielding, but he's not as good of a hitter as Will Smith. But Will Smith, he's a fantastic hitter, not a great defender. But I'm going to give this, I want to say Will Smith, just due to the fact of the offense and the fact that they just re-signed Austin Barnes. So if I had to give this as an overall, I'd give it to the Dodgers, but just based off their starters, I'd have to give it a tie. And now for the infield. And now onto first base. You got Max Muncy and Eric Hosmer. I'm gonna give this to Max Muncy. I think even though Hosmer's defense is a little bit better, Muncy's defense is serviceable over there at first base, and he is much better bat than Eric Hosmer. Second base for the Dodgers will likely be Gavin Lux. Compared to Jake Cronenworth, I'm going to give this to the Padres. Jake Cronenworth showed a lot last year, was a beast on my fantasy team. I picked him up late in the season when he was on that hot streak. So yeah, I am going to give this to the Padres over on this one. So right now it's 2-2. 2-2. It's a tie right now. Third base for the Dodgers, we're going to have Justin Turner and Manny Machado for the Padres. Not even a question, in my opinion. This is Manny Machado of the Padres. Almost won NL MVP last year. So yeah, definitely going to go to the Padres. So it's 3-2 Padres now. Taking a little bit of a lead here. Shortstop Corey Seager. And you got Fernando Tatis, 2 of the best shortstops in the league. Easily top 5 in my opinion, both of them. And I'm going to give this to the Padres. I believe Fernando Tatis is a better defender, and I believe he is a little bit better, just a little bit better of a hitter. And he just provides that spark for the team. You can't just look at it based off stats. In my opinion, you gotta look at like what do they bring to the team in terms of a competitive nature. Fernando Tatis Jr. is just a fun guy, so I'm gonna give this to the Padres. Now taking a 4-2 lead, very surprising. Now left field for the Padres, for the Dodgers, AJ Pollock and Chris Taylor, compared to left field for the Padres, which will be Tommy Pham. This is pretty difficult to think about here, and I do like Chris Taylor. I think he's very good, and I'm gonna give it to the Dodgers 4-3 now. I believe Chris Taylor and AJ Pollock is two very solid left fielders. I think Chris Taylor should start over AJ Pollock. I believe Pollock should be a bench bat. He's not saying that he's bad. I just think they have better outfielders than him. Center fielder for the Dodgers, he got one of the best in the game compared to Trent Grisham for the Padres. This is an easy victory for the Dodgers. You got one of the best outfielders in the game in Cody Bellinger on your team. And now in right field, we got Will Myers for the Padres and Mookie Betts. Not even a question again. Mookie Betts is easily better, in my opinion. Not even in my opinion, in everyone's opinion. I don't think how you would make a case for Will Myers here. Mookie Betts is one of the best players in the game, easily top 5. So yeah, gonna give it to the Dodgers here. And now the results. If you haven't been paying attention, the winner of who is the better team, just looking at the players, who I think is gonna be good and all that. It's gonna be the Dodgers at 5-4. But does that think I'm think they're gonna win the division? Not necessarily, but yes, indeed it does. I do believe the Dodgers will be the winner of the NL West in 2021 for the MLB. I think they easily have one of the best rosters in the league. I think the Padres are just one or more 2 pieces away. Maybe at first base they could use an upgrade over Eric Hosmer. Out in the outfield could definitely use an upgrade. So yeah, I'm gonna give this to the Dodgers. Not only did they win, like the 9 positions on the field, they also, I just think they are much better. Like all the things that they were better in, they were a lot better in besides catcher, and then the Padres, they were like just a little bit better than the Dodgers and all their things. Besides bullpen, I think the Padres bullpen is one of the best. Well, that is going to wrap up this episode of the New Flame Sports Podcast. If you like this episode, a little bit of a shorter one, not a whole lot of things, not as many games or anything like that. Maybe if you want to see NBA stuff, I do have a good friend who is a great, big NBA fan, so possibly, just maybe. So yeah, if you like this episode, go ahead and hit the like button. If you like what we're doing around here, go ahead and hit the subscribe button, and have a safe, good rest of your week. Peace. Editor Andrew here, just to say that, right as I'm editing this video, Jason Sanders, the all-pro kicker for the Miami Dolphins, has just signed a 5-year, $22 million contract with us, and, good. He's one of the best kickers in the league, one of the strongest legs in the league, so the fact that he's gonna be here the next 5 years at least, is good. He's gonna be good for at least all of those years, in my opinion. And good signing by the Dolphins. Only gonna be paying him like $4.5 million a year. So yeah, just overall good signing by us. Glad we did it. Otherwise, there are not many good kickers out there that we could like trade or anything like that for. So good job by the Dolphins for re-signing their All-Pro kicker Jason Sanders. And that is actually gonna do it for this episode.